Okay, guys, we have an official decision on whether or not Bitcoin is going to start hitting down lower more directly instead of filling in the blue zone. So we kind of been talking about this recently for a while in a lot of detail. But now that we have a clear view, I have more confidence in the direction I'm going to express that to you guys. So please remember everything I say in this video is just my own personal opinion. Please do your own research because I am just here to share for you guys what I am doing. Now, with the current structure that's unfolding, previously to cap, what we were talking about was we were either looking, and the chart's gonna look a little bit different this time around, but we were either looking for a break of support. So I did close out. So as it says in red, here I am buying back all of my covered calls as a way to lock in profit on those covered calls, because as we were breaking over the 120 moving average, in the belief that we are still in this downtrend that's forming, all we were was just in the premium section of this downtrend. So you can draw a simple channel going downward. If we're above the 20 moving average, we're quite, premium on the RSI. I started accumulating those covered calls, sold or bought them back all here, locked in those profits. I'm leaving this here as a note. And then I had two pathways for you guys. Either we will find a higher low opportunity here to push it up to roughly 90K before the price ends up coming down into the purple, or we break below this, invalidating a sooner rather than later break into, this blue, which is 83K and above, going all the way up to 101K. The thing is, since we broke below it, we can now say that that pathway higher is not the most likely. It is not the most, the most high probability one. So in that case, what I'm looking for now is a more of a somewhat direct move into the lower boundaries. They both pointed towards the same direction. It was either we come down here sooner rather than later, or we delay it by going up into this resistance area, roughly 90,000, before we come down into the zone. And I kept saying, if we break down into the zone a lot sooner rather than later, it would be better, because I would rather us go down to what I currently is my expectation for a bear market low. So it'll be between 23,000 and 52,000. So I'm targeting 35,000 to 40,000 being my ideal zone. So there's a lot of DCAing going on right here when it comes to the swing trade I'm going to have for the next bull run, going to roughly 200K is the target zone. This is just my conservative zone. During the last bull market, the conservative zone was this, and it actually ended up holding really well. So I'm glad I sold the majority of my short-term positions there for that bull market swing trading. But I have been DCing a lot on my longer-term holdings. Now, within those holdings, I do want to buy. So this point right here is in this short-term resistance. Now this will continue to change if the price go down lower. So if the price comes down lower, as I've been doing as it's been falling down, is I would just continue to follow the price lower. At any point, if the price comes up into, and I'm very proud that I bought back a lot of those covered calls in this zone, even though the price came down lower, because that was my plan. My plan was to buy back all of those covered calls, lock in profit in this zone, and then sell more covered calls if the opportunity provides itself, which would be exactly what I'm explaining right now, which is the price coming up into this blue zone. So it'll be around 70K, which is also where the 120 moving average is, right? So at this point, we'd like to see the 120 moving average, especially on the 1 hour candles, or the 1 day candles, I should say, acting as support and resistance. At this point, it will be a very, very obvious resistance line. Right now, getting close to that 70K mark, which will be a good medium. There's imbalance right here on the daily candles. I'm pretty sure they're quite obvious on the 4 hour. You guys can check that out yourself as well. But the thing is, really nice value gap resistance, fib retracement resistance, 120 moving average resistance, what we want to see is the RSI showing something similar when we get up into this zone, which will be the RSI actually crossing the 50 and showing premium before we even get past. Of course, we'll say 74K, right, to round it up. So the thing is, because we broke below this support zone, which was a retracement from this low up to the swing high, the reason I am not looking at this very soon is because we broke below this. At this point, that bullish momentum that would have held, if there was, would have held a higher low. What this opens up and obviously explains to us is that that bullish momentum is not actually there. The RSI ended up bottoming out and maxing out, slightly breaking below this previous swing low. We do not see that. It is not there. Therefore, expecting the price to go up and actually fill this zone sooner rather than later is unrealistic in my opinion. It makes absolutely no sense. What I'm looking for now is actually more of a lower high opportunity where it's quite simple. If the overall view is to come down here, roughly 40K, what we want to see is that continue to unfold if there's enough evidence, which in this case, the most obvious and simple evidence is a higher low opportunity breaking, making it a lot more likely that we will see this happen. Now, there is a possibility of us consolidating, and we've seen this and we haven't seen this in a while, but a consolidation triangle pattern where we see a wide gap in price very aggressively like this, and then actually I can illustrate it right here, where we start to see that tighten and then we have a breakout. Until that happens, I'm not going to worry about it. There's just no reason. So right now, this is the zone I'm looking for. If the price continues to go down lower, I would adjust this and continue to keep an eye on it. If the price instead goes higher up into the zone, 67.5K and 74K, within that zone, I'm going to be using each of these fib levels as an opportunity to sell covered calls to the market, just like I did when the price went over the 120 moving average. The majority of them being around 71K at the moment, but you can bet that I will be selling a lot of those covered calls personally, starting at 70K aggressively, while opening them up at 67.5K, opening more covered calls, selling more of them more aggressively, 70, 71K, all the way up to 74K, with the idea that we will start to see, fluctuations lower as we come down lower. Instead of coming up into this area, if we have a breakout up, if we happen to have a consolidation channel where it breaks the price higher into this zone, great. I'm going to be selling a lot more covered calls here. It is just not sustainable. That is not a sustainable pattern in my opinion. It's just something it's just simple as that. It's not sustainable. If we have a break below support, obvious support, there is bearish momentum. We have a bigger picture support that was not even filled. The swing low, we're so close to it. A retracement from the top all the way to this zone right here was broken. We want to see these levels filled. It just makes it more realistic. It just makes it much higher probability. And especially during this whole time, we never had a 0.5 retracement filled. This has not happened in such a long time, which indicates that we don't want to be optimistic, at least overly optimistic in the short term. Therefore, I am going to allow the price to do what it wants to do. If it comes into this zone, I'm selling covered calls. I'm buying them back as we come down lower. There will be fluctuations where I can create new retracements, new extensions for you guys. Once I do, if the opportunity presents itself, I will let you guys know where I'm buying back those covered calls and where I'm deploying more capital to accumulate, prepping for the next bull cycle, eventually much, much higher. We have a lot of months to go. I feel like the rest of this year is going to be quite rough when it comes to seeing, aggressive rallies and so on. It really doesn't matter. Any aggressive rally throughout this year until we at least break below 55K, I'm using it as an opportunity to accumulate, and by accumulate I mean sell more covered calls, because that's collecting those premiums way better, having realistic time frames. You can even do like 1 month out, few dollars above what a real price high for that month will be monthly expirations, collect those premiums constantly. There's just no reason to rush equity trades when you can just collect premiums from a market and then, let it do its thing at the correct levels, at least the levels that make sense, and then eventually, once we reach those attractive buying opportunities, buy, and then let it do its thing until we eventually reach those higher prices. There's gonna be a lot more on that soon enough in the future, but as of right now, I'm just gonna keep track of the price how it is. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for. There's a few different things that can happen, but this is my primary recovery up into retracement. I'll be selling covered calls. Overall view down lower. If we break above this, I really don't care. I'll see what the chart provides and I'll update you guys on it. But as of right now, regardless of what happens, we didn't get this zone filled. That was a primary. Alternative was break below support, which we got. Both pathways lead towards purple buying, accumulate, just deep value zone. It's very simple. We're not done just yet. So that's my plan. We'll see how long this takes. There's a good chance that I'll have an opportunity to sell those covered calls this coming up week. So like on the 8th, on Monday, starting the 8th, there'll be an opportunity to sell more covered calls. If we're not up in this zone yet, then I'll just wait. I'll be patient because patience really, really does pay, especially when you have a proper trading checklist, right? If the checklist isn't checked off, just please don't do this to yourself. Please don't force trades when it does not make sense. But this is what makes sense to me. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Hope you enjoyed and take care.